Hi, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at guidance from the ancestors. And when I'm using this term ancestor in the context of this video, I'm not referring to your specific ancestors, as in particular to your genetic heritage, your bloodline, your family, but this is instead tapping into the collective ancestry of mankind, of the human species. So these are going to be, in a very broad context, what would be termed ancestors. So with that in mind, there are three groups to choose from. For group one is the Ammonite, along with this group of oracle cards. For group two, it is the Petrified wood, along with this group of oracle cards. And group three is the copper, along with this group of oracle cards. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you are drawn to. And I'll give you a moment to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. Hi, group one. You chose the Ammonite. So I'm going to put that right up here. And we're going to start off with these oracle cards to get an idea about kind of the general theme that the collective ancestry of the human species, the ancestors, what do they want to talk about today? So we have Guinevere, beauty, feminine power, sexuality, and love. Inner grief. And air, breath. So I'm feeling for group one that you're really being guided by the ancestors to evaluate any places where you may have felt the need to dim your light or shrink away from your truth, maybe in order to kind of keep the status quo in your life, to keep other people happy, to fulfill some kind of role, either that has been self-imposed or that has been imposed upon you by others. You may have over time sort of taken on a narrative as well that others imposed upon you, kind of the way in which, expectations that were placed upon you, or maybe your role within a family, or who you were told that you were to be within society, that over time you've sort of adopted this and internalized it. And somewhere along the lines, you stopped being able to distinguish that these were the stories others were telling you, and that you maybe had silenced or turned the volume down on your own truth that was radiating out from the inside and might have been very contrary to the truth that others had told you about yourself. And so somewhere along the lines, you sort of adopted the stories of others as your own narrative. the belief systems of others, or again, the interpretations of who you should be or who you are according to the observations and ideas of others. That could be your family or friends or society, that somewhere along the lines you sort of took that on as your own truth, and that you have in some way stifled who you really are. That inside there is this luminous being that is sort of sequestered, is sort of, sheltered and maybe tucked away from the world, in order to really present yourself according to, again, these ideas or standards that others had set for you. And that may have been sustainable for some time, but I feel, Group 1, for a lot of you, you're at the point where this authenticity within yourself that you've been sheltering away, you've been kind of keeping secret, keeping to yourself. There's been some movement to where that authentic part of yourself wants to be known. It wants to come forth. And that may be very startling or jarring for those that have known you for a long time or have come to know you as a certain individual or a certain type of individual. You could be in the midst of really, again, speaking your truth, allowing that, inner radiant self to really be known, to perhaps break down a lot of the barriers that were either self-imposed or imposed upon you by others. You may be felt very compelled to do that, to take action in that direction. That can involve a change in lifestyle, a change in geographical location, in job, in friend circle, in family members that you're in contact with. This can even take the form of maybe a partner that you've been with and some kind of shakeup in that regard, in terms of maybe your partner had a certain belief system about the role you were to fulfill within that partnership, or who you are in their eyes, and you really took that on upon yourself. You really, you wore that crown that someone else had given you, albeit maybe that it was an ill fit. It was maybe just a mere suggestion of the depth and fullness of who you truly are deep down inside, but for whatever reason you felt it necessary to kind of to take on that facade, that appearance, or to really take on that role for the benefit of perhaps this partner. And that might have been sustainable for a while, but I feel, Group 1, that you're in a process of being compelled to really speak your truth, and it might be a truth which you already know that this isn't going to bode well with this partner. Maybe this partner was in favor of you being a little more demure, and you are feeling the need to really step into more of an outspoken or assertive aspect of your personality. Maybe there were certain power dynamics or roles within the relationship that this person had kind of expected that you fulfill. If you are a divine feminine watching this, maybe these were very traditional roles that were typically assigned, to women, of like motherhood, nurturing, keeping the house, all of that kind of thing. And it might have been something that you went along with for a while, but there's a deeper truth. There's something more that you want for yourself that's really wanting to come out, wanting to be expressed. And maybe because of the cultural beliefs of your partner, or just the kind of the roles that have been well established in this partnership, and the personality of this person and kind of their values and their worldview, that this is something which it will create a lot of shakeup and potentially will not be accepted well by this person and could signal the end of the relationship. So this could be something, also on the flip side of that, it could be something where maybe your person expects you to kind of forego those more like a nurturing or softer side of yourself in favor of, maybe stepping into more of an action-oriented, kind of like putting emotions on the back burner in favor of logic, of being very, practical and very materially driven, very success driven. And you have this urge inside to be this nurturer, maybe to be a mother, and maybe you're with somebody who has expressed that they don't want to have children. And that's something that, has felt, you've gone along with that. It felt like it resonated for a while, but perhaps, there's this deep longing within you that has maybe always been there or is coming up now. Maybe you are, reaching a point, biologically speaking, where the window of opportunity to have children is closing. And so you're feeling this maternal instinct kind of coming up, and you know that to speak that truth, to really make that proclamation that, you have this deep desire to create life physically within your body, to nurture that and nourish that as it grows, and then to give birth to, this new soul incarnate on this planet at this time. You know that this is something that, will perhaps, or definitely will not bode well with this partner. And so it's a truth that you're kind of right on the brink of expressing this need, this desire that you have. But you might be holding back from that, again, out of fear of sort of shaking up the status quo, or, upsetting the balance between you and this person that you might have been with for quite some time. So I'm going to get some tarot now to get some clarification about this, about what the ancestors have to say, how they want to weigh in about this. So for group 1, get some more clarity about this. Okay, and we have Mother of Earth, which in this deck is Queen of Pentacles, and I think that this fits in really nicely because she's, called the Mother. And, it's a mother and a child in this particular deck. So that fits in very nicely with what was coming up for some of you. It could be this urge to have children, and maybe you've been in a relationship where that you had decided early on that you guys weren't going to have kids, but this is something where now this urge is coming up, this urge to create physical life. And for those of you that doesn't resonate with, this can really indicate this urge to give birth to, this, your true self, this kind of vibrant self that you may have kind of cloistered away in the interest of fitting into an expectation that others had for you or society had for you. Some other goals maybe that you were encouraged to put first before, pursuing your own dreams or really standing in that authenticity. But there's a part of you, there's a part of yourself that is yearning at this point, that is longing, is almost demanding to be heard, to be seen, to be expressed in the world. And so that is akin to giving birth. It's giving birth to a new version of self, a more authentic version of self that could be quite contrary or contradictory to what people have come to know you as, or, the expectations that others have placed upon you. And we also have the Two of Fire, Will. And in this deck, this is the Two of Wands. So this is really talking about, again, this kind of like planning stage that you're at, maybe planning the steps or conversations that need to take place in order to really, have this conversation, maybe have this difficult conversation with a partner who, doesn't, or, the last time you spoke didn't really want to have kids. That's not in their, life plan. That's not in their vision for themselves. And so you're at this place of really strategizing what that's going to look like. Maybe, if the relationship then can't continue, and because of the needs and the desires you're expressing, then this person indicates, that it'd be better off if you parted ways. Then there could be some planning as well, as far as what's that going to look like. This could be somebody you've been with for a while. This could be somebody, that you're married to. And so not only would it signal the end of the partnership then, but an entire restructuring of your life and your identity as well. Because if you, were coupled with somebody or married with someone, then part of your identity has become, in an aspect, part of that unit. And so to dissolve that partnership, to move away from that partnership into just kind of this single or solitary energy. That does involve a redefining of a certain way in which you knowingly or unknowingly had self-identified as part of an us, part of a couple, part of a me and this other person for some period of time. So this can also indicate, though, if this isn't in relation to wanting to maybe have children at this point in time, that this could be, really planning and thinking about, if stepping into this truth and perhaps, potentially disappointing or really shaking up some ideas that others had of who you are or who you should be in your life or in society, or the role that you should fulfill within your family or your culture, and really looking to, the possibility that your truth, your declaration will not be taken well, it will not be accepted, at least initially. And so, there could be a lot of planning that needs to take place as far as what will your life look like? What will the next step be? If potentially, the support that you had while you were really fitting into a role or an expectation, if you are defying that or you're somehow shattering that role or expectation, and then theoretically, the support that you've had up to this point in even just emotional support, people applauding the actions that you were taking in accordance to these expectations. If a lot of that is really withdrawn, and then there's, kind of a questioning, or people not really supporting your lifestyle, or, supporting whatever your truth is, what's that going to look like as maybe these, relationships or situations or circumstances kind of fall away, and you're left in this wide open terrain of, being freshly birthed into that authenticity, and not yet at that point of having really, created a life that mirrors that kind of matches that vibrationally. So what's that going to look like? What kind of plans or preparations are you going to need to make in order to make a transition from one way of being or showing up in the world to another? So we also have Shaman, and in this deck, this is the Hierophant. So this can tie into, again, maybe cultural expectations, perhaps expectations within your family of the role that you've been expected to fulfill. This can also relate to a marriage that you are in, somebody that you're married to, in terms of what was coming up with the energy of, maybe wanting to have a child, and you're married to somebody that, they are not interested in having children. They've made that clear. And so what's that going to look like? But again, this can also apply to, the role that you fill within society, the role that you fill within your culture and within your family, that, there's a lot of tradition involved here, or at least kind of a long-standing promise, a long-standing status quo, really, of, the kind of the agreements, the structure of each person involves role in things and the expectations placed upon them. So this feels like this is, there can be a couple different things happening here that the ancestors want to talk about that could be weighing very heavily on your mind right now, Group 1, or it's a transition point that you find yourself at, kind of this decision point of continue to, dim your truth, to really hold that truth within, to really repress that, or, speak that truth, let that be known, allow that fullness of your desires and what you want for yourself and what you want out of this life to really take shape, to, speak that truth, and thus begin the process of really manifesting that as a reality in your 3D experience. So let's see what the ancestors have to say about all of this. What is their guidance or advice? Group 1. So we have Knight, be brave and honest. So you're definitely being encouraged here to, harness that courage within yourself to really advocate for that truth, that, that true desire, that fullness of your being that has been inside, maybe a secret longing, either that's been there for a while or, may have just developed recently, but nonetheless, it has germinated. It is gestating within yourself. that now is the time not to back away from that version of yourself, that version of your, desire for your life, what you want out of this lifetime, that is, really pushing you from the inside out to be made known. I feel you're probably getting a lot of signs about this, a lot of nudgings, a lot of things that are confirming that, this is a necessary next step in this lifetime for you, in the evolution of your soul, that whatever this is, it's a big part of, your fulfillment, your feeling of satisfaction in this lifetime. You feel that it's part of your purpose, or that it is somehow, by expressing this, you can then get firmly on the road to achieving your purpose. And so the ancestors are really encouraging you to, be very honest about that, about the deeper implications here, what that means for you, even if it's, simply just a very profound act of self-love, in the sense of, this is something you desire. This is something which, it's almost like a secret longing. It brings you a lot of fulfillment inside to contemplate this, to think about this, to imagine whatever this would feel like if this were a part of, who you are in the outside world. If this is part of what people would know you as, or would, come to understand about you as they are interacting with you and experiencing you. And so to really focus in on that vibration of satisfaction and, love of self emanating from the inside out, and really look at this as, again, part of your, your purpose, your mission, your quest in this life. That you're being given these desires and these urges for a reason. And so you're definitely being encouraged to act upon that, make that known, as scary as that might be, in terms of, other people maybe not supporting you in this vision completely. That, even if the people that you're currently surrounded with really question that, or don't understand that, or aren't in alignment with that, and you experience some things falling away, some relationships kind of, becoming more distant, that, you will vibrationally align with those who resonate with that truth, who accept you, and who see you in this fullness of your authentic being. Once you have expressed that, once you have really gotten that out there, you've made that known, you've embodied that, you've become that desire, then others will align with you along your path. We also have arrow, surround yourself with protective energy. So I feel this is the ancestors letting you know that, as you are going through this transitional time, this time where bravery is really required, where, you're at this kind of crossroads of suppress your truth or really speak that out, really, set the wheel in motion for an authentic expression of who you are now, the fullness of your being, that you are protected through all of this, that change might seem very scary. It might seem that, a lifestyle or a way of being or belief system, a role that you've been fulfilling, it might not have been completely satisfying for you. Maybe not ever, or perhaps not for a while. And, so the idea of change can be scary, but, you're being assured here that you are protected through all of this, that through the transition, you will be guided to the right people and the right circumstances to really support you in this, and that can really, again, resonate with you at this frequency of the authentic expression of your truth. We also have High Priestess, harness mystic power. So there's some guidance there about, just really, again, that intuition. I feel a lot of you are getting signs that, now might be the time to start making those plans to speak that truth, or, that this truth you've been kind of harboring inside for quite some time, that now is the time to really make that known, that there's no time like the present. And I feel also that this is really talking, because there's a cat on here, and I mean, they're very protective. So again, there's more of that protective energy here that, some of you might be fearing kind of the reactions of others, maybe kind of afraid of disappointing people. But you're, again, being encouraged to really, speak that truth, step into that, empowered self, that very, if you're a divine feminine watching this, that very kind of like receptive and, kind of nurturing energy, and really, mother yourself in this circumstance, birth that version of self that is inside, that is wanting to come out, that now you are being called upon to really step into that role, to be that conduit for that next version of self to really emerge and manifest out of kind of the ending of who you have been up to this point in time in your life. And this can also, for those of you that this resonates with, wanting to have a child, and maybe you're with someone who doesn't want to have children, that, you're really being called upon to step into that role of, the mother, the fierce protector, and to understand that this is part of, your calling. If you feel so compelled to do that, if the partner that you're with is not in alignment with that, then to really trust that you will come into alignment with a partner or with people, who will support your decision in this. Maybe this is something where you go it alone, depending on your circumstances. But, you're really, again, being called to step into that role, that there's a reason that, you're having these feelings at this time, that this desire, this urge is coming up, that you're well equipped to serve in this function. And I feel that there's a whole facet of yourself which is longing to come out, that mother, that protector, that nurturer. And it can come out in the sense of actually physically having a child, that, this is something you are meant to experience. This is something where, this is a great contribution that you can make in terms of really, creating a physicality for a soul that wants to be incarnate at this time, and has chosen you as that vessel, that means of doing that, has bonded with you, and has chosen to, walk with you in that dynamic as mother and child at this point in time. So to really, recognize the sacred honor that is involved in that, and any kind of fears that you might have as far as, what will that look like, or, would you be a good mother even, to really step through that, be brave, understand that you are protected in all of this, that this is, coming, this inspiration is coming from on high, and that if you are feeling this call, it is for a reason. And we also have Lord, take charge with authority. So more guidance there as far as really stepping into that power center. I feel taking charge of your life and of your destiny at this point in time. Maybe you have really been conforming to roles or expectations that others have placed upon you, or, your role within perhaps, the understanding between you and another in a marriage or a partnership. But as your desires and needs maybe have changed, or perhaps a role that you stepped into in exchange for really kind of silencing some of your desires, maybe just to be with a particular partner, or, it was something which it resonated with you at one time, but now your feelings about it have changed, that you're right on this precipice. And again, you're encouraged to really step into that very assertive, kind of like the fierce protector energy, where, this version of yourself, or, giving birth to a physical child that really is just wanting to happen. It's something that, you're wanting to do, that now's the time to really step into that, assert that, make that known, breathe that into being. And that will be the first step toward manifesting that as a reality. And we also have medicine guardian, be open to healing information. So this is a great closing message for you, Group 1. I feel that the ancestors really want you to know that you might be quite surprised at the reaction of some people involved in these situations, where at first it can be kind of shocking, depending on the nature of what it is that, this truth that you're asserting, but that there can be a lot of healing that subsequently comes from that, after the shock is kind of worn off, and the energy of love, the vibration of love that exists between you, beyond your role, beyond, your relation to them, or how you fit into an expectation. There is a current of love that goes beyond all of those surface appearances. And so the ancestors want you to know that, for a lot of you, there will be healing available, a mending of these relationships in the future. And for others of you, I feel that when you speak your truth, that you're going to be surprised at the ways in which maybe people you thought wouldn't really support that or be on board with that. That again, that current of love kind of overcomes these sort of 3D expectations, or the status quo itself. Love kind of wins in the situation, and you find help in unexpected places, you find support in unexpected places, that the bottom is not going to drop out completely from under you. But you're definitely surrounded by the ancestors, by your specific ancestors, your passed on loved ones, your angels, your spirit guides, your spirit team, God, Goddess, Source. And there are others in the material world who will also really, I think, surprise you and step up to support you in this, support you in birthing this new version of self, or really in taking those next steps, whatever that looks like, forward to, becoming a mother, having a child, being a parent. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the video. If you like the reading, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share. You can also get a personal reading if you are interested in that through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry and some divination tools in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking those out as well. So I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. You chose the petrified wood. So I'm going to put that right up here. And we're going to start off with these oracle cards to get kind of a general theme or a topic about what the collective of ancestors wants to talk about today. So we have the Abbey, interconnectedness, purpose, serenity, shared blessings. Silence. And fire, passion. So I'm picking up that this can either be in regards to maybe something that you've invested a lot of time in terms of a pursuit, some kind of dream that you've been pursuing, a goal that you've been pursuing, perhaps for a very long time. You could have invested a lot of time into it, a lot of resources into it, a lot of passion into it, a lot of love, a lot of energy, a lot of practice, again, a lot of resources in that, that it, composed a large part of your life. It may have come, the pursuit of this passion or this goal may have come at the expense of, spending time with loved ones. It could have come at the expense of some other opportunities that maybe you passed up or declined in order to proceed down this particular path. This could have been something, again, just this feeling of like missed opportunities, or, maybe a relationship that you turned down in the interest of, pursuing some kind of like career goal, or some kind of dream. And so, at one point in time, maybe you had an option to settle down with somebody, with a partner, and instead you chose, to maybe move across the country to pursue, some kind of education for whatever, this was. And it essentially was the end of a partnership. But whatever this was, I feel that it's come at a great cost. You've invested a lot in this. You've given up a lot for this. And you are now finding yourself at this place, either where whatever success you had achieved in this regard is starting to fade, that success is starting to wane, or you have, invested all this time and this energy, this attention into this pursuit, and you're now at this place where it is no longer sustainable, and you are starting to really realize, or it is very apparent, that this dream or this goal, at least in the form in which you currently have it conceptualized, at least in the form of which you have been pursuing it, which you're currently pursuing it, that it is not going to come to fruition in the manner in which you had envisioned. And so you could be left with this kind of this feeling of loss, this feeling of, just really being left kind of a part of yourself in ruins almost, because whatever this cherished goal or this venture that you've been working toward that is not panned out, or whatever success you had, that's really starting to diminish, that, this chosen path is starting to crumble for you, and you're left then with this sense of having to reflection, maybe this silence in other capacities in your life, in terms of the things that you had given up along the way, the sacrifices that were made in pursuit of this goal or of this dream for yourself. And so you might be at a point now where your vigor is really starting to diminish. Perhaps your excitement or your passion for life or your hopefulness in general for the future is really starting to wane. You're really not sure what steps to take next, where to go from here, what to really do, how to really salvage some happiness or some success out of the current situation, maybe out of, because of some sacrifices that were made. You're doing a lot of reflecting on that and really filling some voids in your life, in perhaps a lot of things like a romantic connection, a love connection that would have, or at the time really, was very passionate for you, really inspired you and uplifted you in other ways. But maybe, again, you chose like pursuing a career at the expense of a particular love relationship. And so now at this point where maybe that, that career is kind of falling away. And so you're experiencing loss on that end. And then you're also very acutely aware of kind of that feeling of loss within yourself, that loss maybe of a love that you had given up at one point in time. So let's get some tarot from the ancestors to get some clarity about this for you, group 2. Okay, so we have Three of Fire, Integrity, and in this deck, the Three of Fire is the Three of Wands. So that really ties in with this, this energy of something that you've invested a lot of time in. You've really planted a lot of seeds. You've really worked very hard, and through all of that, through pursuing that end goal, that kind of that prize that you had your eye on for quite some time, that maybe when you reached that goal, it after a lot of planning, after a lot of preparation, out of a lot of waiting for opportunities to come in, that goal just wasn't as fulfilling as you expected it to be, or maybe you did reach that, but now you're at this point where it's starting to fall away, and so you're really looking around yourself like what's next, what to do now. Maybe you feel very distant from everything else because you've made whatever this is your life. And we also have Son of Earth, which in this deck is the Page of Pentacles. So I feel that you're at this place now where maybe you have very little left to hold on to in terms of hope, in terms of some of the tangible material success either that you had hoped to achieve or that you at one point had achieved that maybe has diminished. Maybe circumstances have changed. Maybe it's something where the job, the career you were pursuing, and then you invested yourself in, became a part of. Maybe it has been outsourced, for example, or the industry has somehow changed. And perhaps some of the the skills that you had, or the the position that you had, it's waning, and there's very little left to hold on to at this point. And in terms of maybe you were so singular in your view for quite some time, so singular in your pursuit, that there was almost an imbalance in other areas of your life. And so now as you're looking around you, as things are kind of quieting down, as you're at this point where maybe you're feeling the need to kind of give up on this pursuit, give up on this goal, and really kind of re-strategize. And you're looking around you, and this pursuit has come at the expense of so many other things that you might feel like that you don't have very much else to kind of lean on, maybe even in terms of friendships or interpersonal relationships. Maybe you gave up the opportunities to travel, or even to have some life experience in the pursuit of this one singularly minded thing. And we also have the Star. So this is really tying into that, almost this feeling of kind of hope dwindling that you are at this point. Either hope that a continued pursuit of whatever this is will pan out into something, or just even hope in general, as far as what's next, where to go from here. Now that maybe your dreams are kind of crumbling, or the whatever you had focused on and built and worked toward, that it's diminishing, it's falling away, and you're left with just a slight twinkling of hope. Hope is maybe becoming very dim. It could feel very dark around you, and hope is just a glimmer. It's a glimmer that you're perhaps holding on to. Kind of your passion has sort of dwindled down into an ember, and as you're looking around you, it's very much there's silence. You're not really sure where to go from here. I'm feeling a deep kind of like an energy of sort of regret that's filling you, almost at this point in time, as the outside circumstances are changing, or again this goal you were pursuing for so long and with such dedication and passion at the expense of so many other things, or perhaps all other things, and you're now at this point where maybe you're starting to realize, or it's very apparent in some way that this isn't going to work, this isn't going to pan out as you thought it might. Maybe it was some kind of goal of like stardom in some sense, like, becoming a famous musician or an actor or an athlete, or just, it can be anything, but those three things are coming up strongly here. And so you could have invested a lot of, yourself, a lot of your time, a lot of your energy in these pursuits. And now it's at this point where, that's no longer sustainable. You're having to be very honest with yourself about that. And then kind of looking around about, well, where to go now, what to do now, because you really sacrificed so many other opportunities or, explorations in the pursuit of this very single-minded goal, which you have worked quite hard toward for some time. So let's get some guidance from the ancestors, the collective of ancestors about this for you. Group 2. What do they have to say about this? Okay, so we have High Priestess, harness mystic power. So I feel that you're really being guided at this time to, as much as possible, sort of open your mind to seeing beyond your immediate circumstances, beyond maybe a goal that just keeps retreating from you farther and farther on the horizon, and you're at the point where you don't have much stamina to continue to pursue this, or you see this now as a fruitless pursuit, that it's time to really, give up that chase and, turn your focus to something else. And I feel the ancestors are really advising you that, as hopeless as this might feel, as much as you might have feel that you've wasted time or you've wasted other opportunities, that you really have gained so much from this, almost on an intangible or a soul level. And that can be kind of a minor consolation. I mean, that can sound very trite when it comes to talking about, something you were very passionate about, something you were working towards not working out in your favor, something you were working towards and having to admit that, it's just not going to come to pass. That to hear those words about that you've grown in the soul and you've learned so many lessons, it can kind of feel like not a very good consolation prize at the expense of all the time and the dedication and effort that was put in. But I feel that it's something that over time and in surprising ways, that the wisdom that you've gained here, the perseverance that you've demonstrated, the stamina that you've really built in, this ferocious dedication in a single-minded direction. This is a skill which, after you move through this darkness of, this loss and this disappointment and this sense of overwhelm and feeling very unclear about what steps to take next, that these abilities that you have honed within yourself, that you've really called forth and you've put into practice in order to get to this stage where you're at now, these same attributes will be invaluable to you, and you will know how and when to use them in the pursuit of whatever you determine is your next course of action, whatever you are divinely guided to do next. And a lot of that is going to come through your intuition toward recognizing the signs, the signposts. As a door closes, a window opens for you. And it's going to come very unexpectedly and in a surprising way. It's going to be something which might even just be kind of a slight tickle of a nudge. But it's something which, practically with your 3D senses, with your logical mind, it might not look like much, but something in your intuition will tell you that this is the next step. This is where you get off of this path that you've been on that you feel is leading nowhere, or is just, it's providing diminished returns at this point in time. It's no longer sustainable to pursue that. And so by actively trying to kind of logically sort of puzzle your way out of that, it's just going to send you in circles, because this next step, this next kind of detour for you, it's something which, again, it's going to come in a very subtle way. It's going to be something very divinely orchestrated, that you're not just going to be left with nothing. That again, you've honed some really important skills here. You've really brought out and strengthened some very deep and important qualities of your character that, will be invaluable in other pursuits. And, no matter how much time has passed, no matter how much time has been invested or opportunities that you really feel you might have, missed out on or turned down, that there will be other chances for you in other ways, through other people, other things, other opportunities to experience fulfillment and to really, engage in life, to really experience the richness and the fullness that life has to offer to you. And so as much as possible, the ancestors really are advising you to kind of retreat from overly focusing on the circumstances that you find yourself in now, and really try to hold on to that hope that other opportunities will present themselves, that, there is still happiness out there for you. There is still fulfillment out there for you, that just because whatever this pursuit is, this path, did not work out as you had envisioned, it does not mean that all hope is lost. We also have Father Sky, trust in the unknown. So that's a great confirmation there again of, just really trusting in where you're being guided at this point in time. That you will come to this point where you're almost going to take this wider view of the circumstances you find yourself in now and the experiences you've been through, the decisions, the choices that you've made, the sacrifices that you've made to get to this point in time. And you're going to recognize these qualities within yourself, these qualities of tenacity and dedication and just single-minded focus that have gotten you to this point. And you're going to see the way in which to really utilize that skill in another direction in order to seize the opportunity and to achieve other goals that are then presented to you. And we've got Shapeshifter, transform and unveil your gifts. So your ancestors again, or the ancestors, really wanting to encourage you to, and these can be your specific ancestors stepping in here as well as part of that collective, that are really, encouraging you to kind of work on transforming your idea and your vision about the place in which you find yourself at now. To really transform that idea of maybe missed opportunities and, wasted time, and to understand that nothing is wasted, nothing has been in vain. All of this has really served a larger purpose, and that there are skills within yourself, deeply embedded skills that you have been mastering, that you've been honing, that you've been utilizing to get you to this point. And there will come a time in the future where, those same skills, they are going to be invaluable to achieving a goal, to reaching a goal, to getting to that higher vibration, that next level of your soul's path. That now is the time to really, try to shift your mindset and be open to change. Stay, instead of dwelling maybe on what has not worked out, what you've given up to get to this point where maybe you're just finding yourself disappointed or, at a loss or in a period of loss, to understand that, the tides will turn, your fortune will shift, things will shift, your circumstances will shift, new opportunities will present themselves, new people will align with you that will, provide you an opportunity to, perhaps like with the energy of the love connection that you had, given up, you had sacrificed in the pursuit of, let's say, some kind of passion or a goal or, career goal, something of that sort, like an educational goal, something of that nature, that isn't the end all be all, that the universe will provide you with another opportunity for that. Once you've kind of opened your perspective as well, you're taking your mind off of that one thing that you were just very single-minded on, that all of your energy and your time and your effort was invested in, almost to the exclusion of other things. That what is occurring now is an opportunity for your perspective to widen, to be open to an influx of other energies that want to come in, that want to transform your experience from where you find yourself now into something more enriching. And we have Druid, hold the space. So this is really talking about, just holding on to that hope, holding space within yourself, that, this passion that you have, this desire for fulfillment that is at the root of whatever this pursuit was. your commitment to it, your single-minded focus, it goes beyond, and it has gone beyond it. It went beyond just the very kind of 3D circumstances of that, of the accolade or the title or the accomplishment or the achievement. There was a root sensation that was being fulfilled, or that you felt would be fulfilled by that. And maybe it was satisfaction, accomplishment, acceptance, empowerment, love even, at the end of all of that. And so really the ancestors want you to, hold the space within yourself that this same energy, you can achieve that frequency in a different manner than what you had planned for yourself. That, you're at this place right now, and perhaps the whole time Spirit had a larger plan for you, a different plan for you. And again, nothing having been in vain, but the experience that you've had so far, this tenacity, this drive within yourself that has really been tested, and that you have really stepped up to the plate, and you've proven that you have what it takes to, follow something, perhaps even at, the expense of distractions or other things that might have taken you off that path. This deep commitment within yourself, that's something that it will be rewarded in another fashion. It will come around in a different form, and that the place where you find yourself at now, opening yourself to the possibility that this can definitely have been part of a larger plan for you, that you were meant to go through all of this in order to, again, sort of harness, to summon, to awaken those abilities within yourself, to strengthen them and master them and apply them diligently day after day over the course of weeks, months, or years in a certain direction. And that you're at this place right now because those skills they've been mastered. You have proven that you have the dedication that it takes to achieve a goal. And so now you are at this place where you're being rerouted to the goal, to the actual end result that will be the best fulfillment for you, that will be the best vibrational match. And in a much larger way, perhaps, than whatever this original pursuit was, that it'll fulfill you, and it will really resonate with you in unimaginable ways. And we also have winter. Take care of your needs. So as you find yourself in this winter stage of your life right now, where things are maybe falling away, dreams are kind of falling away, you're having to maybe admit that it's time to walk away from some things, and you're in kind of this quiet place, this place of silence, where there's not a lot of growth happening, where maybe your passion is just an ember within yourself, where you're feeling kind of in a kind of cold and sort of in a dark place right now, that this is the time to go in and really, process the grief, the disappointment, feel these emotions, allow that to pass through you, allow yourself to look at the situation from all angles. Definitely, this isn't the time to shame yourself for what you're feeling. It's not the time to berate yourself as a failure. If you feel those sensations, then definitely don't suppress that. Lean into that. Allow that to be felt, to be expressed, but don't live there. Allow that to be, part of the kind of the mental dialogue that's happening, or the thought pattern, or the introspection that's happening for a season. But understand that, that's that feeling, that sensation, that mindset, it doesn't have the right to take up residence within you, that it is only here in passing. That part of going through that darkness is the idea that beyond that will be the light. And so nurture yourself as much as possible as you're going through this grief period, and the ancestors just really want you to know that you are supported through all of this, that there is a larger plan in place, a larger plan in play for you. All is not lost. This is not the end of everything. This is, it's a season of change for you. It's kind of a quiet season. It's a time for that reflection within, so that inspiration, that window of opportunity that will next open for you, so that can be known. In this silence, it needs to only come as a whisper, and that will be all the nudge that is necessary to really follow that forward, to get on the track toward, a deeper fulfillment, a higher fulfillment, and for what the universe has planned for you in the next phase of your journey. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the video. If you liked the reading, please give this a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry and some divination tools in my Etsy shop if you'd like to check those out as well. So I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 3. You chose the copper. So I'm going to put that right up here, and we're going to start with these oracle cards to get kind of a general theme about what the collective of ancestors wants to talk about today in this reading. So we have King Arthur, authority, justice, power, leadership. Emotional exhaustion. And artist, creativity. So I'm feeling that for some of you, you're really struggling with some ways in which you have given your power away previously. And that this could have been something that has happened in the past, but is maybe coming up for you. It's sort of memories of that are resurfacing, or, you've been doing actively doing some shadow work. And situations where, again, you might have given your power away to people, or, settled for less than you deserved, or, kind of put your needs secondary to others, that's really coming up for you. And you're struggling with how to transmute those feelings, how to really grow from those feelings, how to really take the wisdom and the lessons out of those experiences, that you're stuck in this place of, kind of dwelling on those things. Maybe some of you are struggling to not only forgive people of the past, but more importantly, forgive yourself for, things you might have tolerated or ways in which you didn't show up for yourself fully, which you weren't operating in the most self-loving manner, for a variety of reasons. And that it's something, that you have felt very compelled to, take back your power, to really, stand in that very empowered energy, that very, self-assured energy. And I feel that in a lot of ways in your life, you have done that. That you've gone through some marvelous transformations from where you were previously. You've done a lot of healing. But there's some facet of your past, of past experiences, that is coming up at this time, and it's kind of, it's nagging at you, because that, there is some gem of wisdom to be garnered from that. There is a way to really, take the lessons and crystallize them and take the experiences and render something beautiful out of what it might have been a difficult experience or a difficult chapter in your life. And I feel that it's something that you've been very actively trying to do this, almost trying to will yourself to get to that point. You may have been investing in, a lot of different techniques, or investing a lot of time in doing some research to find out how to maybe move into that energy of self-forgiveness or forgiveness of others, cutting some cords of negativity, negative attachment with people of the past or circumstances of the past, but that you're just not getting to that point of kind of liberation and release within yourself. So you could be going through some frustration, emotional and psychic exhaustion, being really exhausted in terms of, maybe you again have tried several different techniques. You've invested a lot of time and effort, a lot of intention in creating this end result, in, really kind of reconciling this sort of dark or kind of difficult experience or chapter of your life, that, it almost feels like it's baggage that you're feeling like you don't want to carry it forward with you anymore. You feel that it's something, it's coming up for healing. Maybe it's come up several times for healing, and you've worked at it, but it still keeps coming up. And so you're finding yourself at this point right now of, maybe you've gotten really creative with the things that you've tried to really, sort of reframe your ideas about this, or to, again, kind of release yourself from the tethers to this past person, this past situation, this experience or this feeling. But you're at this point right now of not really knowing what to do next, where to go next, that in some way it could be, almost kind of inhibiting your creative expression for some of you. This could be something that, it's really, it comes up as a nuisance kind of, where it's something that, it's acting almost as a block. It's demanding that you look at it. It's perhaps interfering with some other things in your life, some other, areas of enjoyment, your ability to enjoy this present moment to the fullest, because maybe there are things that just sort of trigger these memories, or, you're having dreams about these things or this person, these people, just something that keeps bringing it to the forefront, demanding that you give it attention. But again, all the ways that you might have tried to really release yourself from this, or transmute this, or, reframe your thinking, or move into that space of, maybe what you believe to be, forgiveness of this other person or these other circumstances as the solution to kind of unbinding yourself from this. Maybe you've been working on self-forgiveness, but you've just not been very successful in that capacity. And you're finding yourself at this place of being very depleted, feeling very out of options, and almost at a point of semi-despair, kind of at this idea of, are you going to have to carry this around with you like this forever? Is this going to be something that's going to keep creeping up into your awareness, into your experience in a variety of ways? Is this going to keep, being this kind of shadow that lingers with you? Or is this, is healing not possible? Is this a wound or a series of wounds that will just continue to fester? So it feels like you're kind of at this point of frustration right now of not really knowing what way to go next, how to get, that endpoint of healing, of getting to this place of peace with, where you've been in the past, with your circumstances, with things you might have been through. That place of peace feels very distant, and the way to get there is, it feels very unclear because, again, you've maybe exhausted a lot of options, or as many options as you've been able to come across up to this point, and so you're just stuck in this frustration energy and just not really knowing what steps to take next. So let's get some tarot now to get some clarification about this for you, group 3. And we've got Father of Water, which in this deck is the King of Cups. So this is definitely talking about something that's just kind of wrenching on your emotions, some kind of deep sorrow or disappointment, a deep sense of loss, maybe a deep sense of almost betrayal of yourself, some areas where you didn't act in a very self-loving manner, and you may have stepped into this place of being very empowered, feeling very accepting of yourself, of where you've been, of who you are. But there's just there's a chapter or a particular experience or, a particular person that is just kind of diminishing in this fullness of your emotional being. It's an area which is really just, it's lingering. It keeps coming up to the surface as a way in which you can't seem to find a way to really take your power back from this situation, from this person, from this experience. And we have Seven of Water, excess. So that's the Seven of Cups. And again, just many different routes and roads that you may have tried, many different options, many different modalities for healing, for getting to that place of peace within yourself, to, forgiving this person, forgiving yourself, trying to find the good in the situation, to, crystallize the lesson out of the experience, to come to a place of acceptance, and to, fully stand in your power despite whatever this circumstance is or this person that you are interacting with, but that all these different things that you've tried, it's really just, left you with this sense of loss. It's not, fulfilled long term, that expectation or that, goal that you had of getting to this place of kind of reconciliation within yourself even. And we have Father of Earth, which is the Father of Pentacles. So I feel that this is also, you're in a very empowered energy in so many other ways. You really stepped into your power. You've created a lot of abundance for yourself and a lot of other capacities. But that in some way that this is diminishing from your being fully present in being able to enjoy where you are now. That in some way, even if you're very grateful for the journey that you've been on, for all that you've achieved, all that you've accomplished, there's some part of you that, still is kind of creeping back up or is still kind of distracted by something of the past. And it's preventing you from having your full attention on the present, to really being hopeful about the future. In a way, it almost feels like kind of a glib energy about the future, because you're at this point where you're really feeling that whatever this is, whatever this shadow is or this experience, this kind of chain to the past, that keeps following you through all these techniques, through all this other abundance that you've created for yourself. You're kind of at this point of feeling that, maybe this will be with you. This is something that, is just going to keep coming up to keep you kind of strapped down to the past, keep you from really stepping into the fullness of your being. That you have this vision in your mind of, this sense of peace within yourself, of this sense of empowerment, of really having, mastered lessons in your life and really having fully moved out of whatever space you were operating in previously into, fully taking an active role in creating your own prosperity going forward. But that there's a person you were dealing with, or a set of circumstances, or, a particular experience that is really, when it comes up, it really makes you kind of call into question your ability to make good choices maybe going forward, or it has created almost like an energy blockage in the sense of not wanting to repeat those experiences, or not wanting to perhaps attract in that same type of person in whatever capacity that is. And so it's really affecting your ability to be fully open to new possibilities and even kind of a hopeful outlook on the future and the fullness of what it is possible for you to create, based on this almost like an energetic tether that is kind of diminishing some of your energy or your capacity for joy. So let's get some guidance from the collective of ancestors to see what they have to say about all of this energy for you, group 3. Okay, so we have seer, see beyond the current situation. So the ancestors are really guiding you to look beyond the feeling that maybe you are experiencing currently, or that keeps reemerging. This sense of that whatever this kind of wound or pain or deficit from the past that keeps coming up, and maybe you're at the point now of just kind of hopelessness and feeling that this will be with you forever, that you're just going to be, stuck with this kind of intrusive feeling, this intrusive memory that kind of unannounced and whenever is convenient for it will just sort of reintroduce itself into, your life, into your emotional field, into your experience in a variety of ways. That the ancestors are letting you know that, in ways that you cannot perceive yet. And I'm almost feeling that for a lot of you, this healing will come very spontaneously, and that it will come when you move into a state of receptivity. That perhaps for a lot of you, you've really been actively trying to squelch this kind of rough memory or this, unpleasant energy from your life. And that very active kind of pursuit of healing is making the healing energetically retreat from you. That to achieve the healing you desire, it is not a matter of, pursuing this. That you set the intention to be released from this sensation, to be, healed from this experience, to be freed from this, energetic cord with this person. And you take the steps that you're guided to take by, for some of you, going through a variety of modalities, trying different methods, cord cutting meditations, different prayers, or redirecting your focus in other ways, trying to build up other areas of your life, journaling, artwork, and counseling, maybe talking to people, physical exercise, visualizations, just any kind of variety of things. Reiki might have even come up as something to really kind of clear that, some kind of past life regression, hypnosis, just any variety of things that could have come up for you. And these were all very actively in pursuit of kind of freeing yourself from this tether, which I'm feeling for this particular circumstance, because of the profound nature of this. I feel that this is more than just, somebody cut you off in traffic, for example. This is kind of like a deep sense of betrayal, a chapter that was very, it led to a lot of wounds. It unearthed a lot of wounds within yourself. It was a very transformative period in your life in terms of maybe this was the place when you got to rock bottom, you got to your lowest state. This was the person, this was the circumstance that really, pushed you down in the mud. And from that mud, you have become this lotus. You have really grown out of those circumstances. You've become that rose through the concrete. That despite what has occurred, despite the circumstances you found yourself in, despite your history, despite your past, that you have risen from that. You have flourished and bloomed into something radiant and magnificent and miraculous. And that all of that came, I feel you're being reminded that all of that came, that growth you're at now came through this persistence that you were not just going to remain where you were buried. You were not just going to remain at this low place that you found yourself in, either through your own choices or circumstances that were out of your control, but that there was something within you, this fight that was within you, this, thirst for life, this hunger for more that really propelled you and pushed you up through the muck, through the mire, through that constriction and the weight of the circumstances or where you found yourself. And that was almost like it was, an unseen velocity within your soul that just propelled you forward through some very difficult growth, some very difficult shadow work, some very difficult, reconciling of experiences and circumstances and situations that you'd been through in order to really make the most out of that, to really transmute those circumstances and situations into something for your benefit, something for your growth, an opportunity for growth, and that you've accomplished marvelous things despite that, through that, and because of that. But that this, whatever this is that keeps coming up for you, it is not something that will be healed through the active pursuit. It is something that it is now asking you to move into a complete state of receptivity and openness and trust in the divine, that this healing will come to you again, perhaps in like miraculous and unexpected ways. So it could be, spontaneously through a dream, and you wake up and you suddenly feel very okay with something. It could be, in some form of just your daily meditations, if you meditate, or, as you are maybe having interactions with other people, and something that somebody says, it reminds you of, an experience with somebody from the past that was maybe very difficult. But whatever you hear, it sort of reframes things. You suddenly maybe see things from another person's perspective, or, on some level, at a soul level, maybe it's, the apology that you were waiting for that you never got. Just in some way, you get to this place of being okay with something in a very unexpected and unseen and unplanned for manner. And so the collective of ancestors is really advising you that for whatever this is that keeps coming up, that healing, that freedom that you are seeking, it is not going to be achieved through an active and deliberate pursuit. It is something that you will receive when the time is right. And we have Peacekeeper, let go of the need to be right. So this is again tying in with that energy of just really letting go of expectations of when or how this healing is going to come about, what that's going to look like. Letting go of any kind of timetables that you have and any kind of energy that you're investing in thoughts or ideas that somehow your joy and your capacity for prosperity and fulfillment is limited by whatever this is that keeps creeping up or keeps lingering or is still dwelling within your subconscious, within your mind, within your psyche. And that you may be telling yourself that, because of a difficult, let's say, situation in love in the past, a difficult partnership, a very kind of damaging partnership that you had with somebody, and it's kind of shut you off to the idea of, being able to attract, let's say, a high vibrational partner. Maybe this was a series of partners in the past that, belittled you, or it was, a toxic relationship. It was not the healthiest. And you've healed some other aspects of yourself that, maybe called that energy in, or parts of yourself that tolerated that energy, that, ignored red flags or put up with unacceptable behavior for longer than you should have, or at all. but that there's a part of yourself that is still kind of thinking, or is kind of in that narrative of that this is maybe just the type of partners that you are destined to attract. And so while you may have these other things that you achieve, perhaps you're of the mindset that, love is just not meant for you in this life, that that's not part of your happiness. And so when you think to the future and you think about love, you don't have a very hopeful outlook on that. And so as an example, that can be, apply that to whatever situation as it resonates for you, whatever the circumstances. But the ancestors are really guiding you to, release that narrative, release that mindset, move into this space of openness, of receptivity, receptivity to almost this spontaneous healing that wants to come in, that wants to take place, and to keep really, working actively toward living your best life and fulfilling your purpose and standing in that very empowered energy, embodying that, being an example of that for others. And, this wound within you that is festering and it keeps coming up. I feel that for most of you, it keeps coming up because it's demanding that you move into this space of receptivity, where this is not something that you can fix through deliberate action, through, actively going out with the intention of, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to resolve this, I'm going to change this. That instead, this is something which, will be remedied from on high. It is something that will be remedied through the subtle realms in ways you cannot even predict, that you cannot even understand. It is something that will be emotionally felt when the time is right. We also have Fire Guardian, ignite your passion. So this is really, to me, saying that you are highly protected throughout this journey, throughout this phase where you might be feeling very vulnerable as kind of these memories creep back up, as they creep back in, as you're feeling the weight of that, as you're feeling kind of the annoyance of that even, of maybe a circumstance that you just can't forget, or, a relationship with a person, a particular person that just keeps kind of almost like on an invasive level coming in via dreams, or, there's things that are remind you of them, or you keep kind of rehashing the experience with this person, and that it's something that maybe you're feeling very vulnerable to, that you're feeling like it's very invasive, but your ancestors or the ancestors and your ancestors are with you, are protecting you. Your angels are protecting you. Your spirit team is protecting you. God, goddess, source is protecting you through all of this. That the feelings that you're having, that these are they're a mirage. They are a recollection of experiences of the past that have been embedded now on a cellular level, on an etheric level. And they're coming back up because it's almost letting you know that there is healing taking place currently on the subtle realms in this capacity. And so, just really breathe into that. Unleash your passion in this regard. If you can, find creative ways to really, express this, to get this out, even if it's your frustration that you're still thinking about somebody or thinking about something from the past. That can be a healthy and a good way to really kind of, set that intention, make that intention known that you want to move on from this, you want to close this chapter out. It can really help those subtle energies to, build that momentum. It can really, you can actively, energetically support the energy that is taking place behind the scenes to continue to kind of burn away these chains that bind you. To kind of burn away these etheric cords between you and another person, or a situation from the past, or a time period, a period of your life from the past. And that, behind the scenes, there is a lot being done, energetically speaking, to kind of free you from this, to move you into that space of being at peace with what you have experienced, and being very, excited and very passionate about where you are headed. We also have High Priestess, harness mystic power. So again, this energy of really moving into this space of receptivity. The ancestors want you to know, again, in regards to this situation, the healing is going to come in a very unexpected way. It's going to come in a very mystical way. It's going to feel very miraculous for you. I feel that for a lot of you, it will be very profound when this healing takes place. It will be something that almost with like an indescribable gratitude that you will have then for spirit when this takes place, of being released from a burden that you have been carrying around for so long, that you've been praying about, that you've been trying to heal. You know, you've been trying to kind of move beyond, but it stays with you, it lingers with you. For some of you, it almost borders on shame, like shame in yourself for what you tolerated, what you have been through, feelings of guilt, or just feelings of deep loss, or even anger with self, that are very, they have permeated certain other areas of your life, and they are deeply embedded. And so when this release happens, when this healing happens, it's going to be such a profound weight off of your soul, and it is going to come in such an unexpected and almost magical way, a mystical way, that it's the feeling of gratitude for spirit that you will have is just going to be so overwhelming, and can perhaps even be life-changing for you, and can really change your idea of the subtle realms, of the spirit realm, of angels, of source, God, goddess, and your relationship with all of that. That it will really confirm for a lot of you as well that, you are protected, that you are heard, that, spirit wants the best for you, that all of your effort to really metamorphosize into a more empowered and a more self-loving version of who you are, that has been recognized. And part of the rewards of that, in addition to, the abundance that you've manifested in a variety of ways for yourself, part of that reward is also being released on some level from the pain associated with a past experience or a past person. And we also have Stargazer, set your sights higher. So this is a great closing message for you, group 3, just about really imagining something better for yourself, imagining, the love that you want to experience, imagining something beyond your experiences in love up to this point. Imagine yourself being reminded of something or a person from the past, that the memories you have now are very painful. They are far from fond. And imagine yourself moving into that space, being brought to that space by spirit, of being okay with that, of not feeling anything for that, feeling even perhaps gratitude for what you've been through, for what that taught you, for the dark place that you were propelled into, that was the very muck that was required. It was the rock bottom that was required in order for you to really, bloom and emerge into this fullness and radiance of who you are now. And that doesn't mean that you're going to go out and want to, have this person back in your life, or you're going to want to sit around and think about, that difficult time period or that difficult experience, and that you'll say, gee, it was really good and it was great. And I love that. No, it's something where, instead of being haunted by these memories, that they will just be part of your story. But you will be looking at your story with the lens of there is so much left to write. There are so many more beautiful experiences and enriching relationships to experience, that your past does not dictate your future. And that where you are now is the most crucial and glorious part of the whole experience. And to evolve with that, to be very present in now, and to evolve with the opportunities, with the lessons, with the blessings that are provided to you through the form of experiences and people that you encounter along your path. You can definitely set your sights to a higher expectation. You can focus on that where you're headed is so much better than where you've been. So the ancestors want you to know that, healing is coming for you. It is available for you. It is being made available to you right now. And so any kind of frustration or, feeling that maybe you've pursued all options and nothing's going to work and this is with you forever, you're really being called to move into this space of receptivity, to put your trust in the divine, trust that your prayers for deliverance have been heard, and that you will be restored. You will be restored by spirit in a miraculous way and when you least expect it. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry and some divination tools in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking those out as well. So I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.